right, let's keep rolling along. So make sure your packet is out, pencil ready to go, so that you can get started here. So we're going to talk about multiplying decimals now that we've moved on from adding and subtracting. And just make sure you've done everything that you have needed to up to this point. So the big question here is, should you line up the decimals when multiplying decimals? So we did with adding and subtracting, but with multiplying, no, we do not. So you should not line up the decimals when multiplying decimals. Now, if they happen to line up, which you might see in one of our examples, then fine, but otherwise, nope, you don't need to be concerned about them. You kind of ignore them until the end. So I know that there are, well, first off, when multiplying decimals, remember you need to count all the numbers behind the decimals in both factors. We'll show you an example of that here in a second. So there are two ways to multiply decimals. There's a traditional way, and what we call a traditional algorithm, so the way we solve a problem. And then there's lattice. I do not care which one you choose, whatever you are most comfortable with. I was most comfortable using traditional, so that's what I'm going to show when I do these examples. But if you need help with lattice, please feel free to change it to yellow or red, and either I or another student who knows lattice can help you. Okay? But you should still be able to follow along because it's still a similar idea. We should be getting similar numbers as we're doing this, whether you're doing traditional or lattice. So you choose what's best for you as we go through these examples. Okay? So the first one, you can go ahead and write these examples for example 1 and example 2. We're going to focus on example 1. It is 4.7 times 2.9. So we're going to set that up. And again, I'm focusing on traditional this time. Okay, and if you want to set up the next problem too, you can, or you can wait until we get to it, but we're focusing on example 1 over here on the left. So when you are multiplying, no matter whether you're doing lattice or traditional, you need to focus at one number at a time, okay? So again, these happen to line up, but I did not do it on purpose. It was only because that's how they happen to line up when I wrote them, so that the numbers lined up, okay? So we just start with our bottom right here, and we do 9 times 3, which is, 9 times 7, which is 63. So we got our 3, and we carry our 6. And we do 9 times 4, which is 36, plus 6 more, which is 42. So I'm just going to add my 42 here. Okay. Here's the really, really important step. We are moving over to the next number now because we haven't dealt with this 2 yet. Okay, we've only multiplied by the 9. We need to multiply by the 2. So because we moved over a place value, that means we need to have a placeholder, which we use 0 for that. So always remember that. If we had to move 2 places over, then we would have 2 zeros, 2 placeholders. So then we just start the process over, but now with the 2. So you're doing 2 times 7. And see, I'm kind of like touching the number. I mean, I'm doing it with my cursor, but I'm touching the numbers as I go. That's what I do when I write them out. So if that helps you to like make that point of connection with the numbers to see what you need to do next, feel free to do that. So 2 times 7 gives us 14. So I got my 4 here. So I'm just going to ignore this 6. I'm just going to, for me, I'm putting it over here. If you want to cross it out, feel free, or erase it, whatever you prefer, however you do this. But I have, where'd my little 1 go? Oh, goodness. It is hiding from me. Anywho, so we carried our 1 from the 2 times 7 to get 14. We carried our 1. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus that 1 more is 9. I don't know where that 1 went. Oh, well. So then we have 2 rows of numbers here. So we need to add those up. Okay. And so when we do that, let me scroll down here. Okay, when we do that, we got 3 plus 0 is 3, 2 plus 4 is 6, 4 plus 9 is 13. Then we need to figure out where our decimal goes. So again, back up here where we, remember, we got to count all the numbers behind the decimals in both factors. So I've got one factor, which is 4.7, the other 2.9. And so I've got one number behind the decimal in this factor, one behind in this factor, so that's 2 total. So I need to go 1, 2, right? 1, 2, and I end up with 13.6 as my answer. 13.63, I'm sorry. 13.63. I keep misspeaking. I guess I'm a little tired. Okay, so on this next one, you're gonna go ahead and get it started. But I wanted to point out something here. So personally, now you can do this however you like. Personally, I like having the number that has more digits, not necessarily the bigger number, but the one that has more digits. So 0.52 has more digits than 8 does. So I personally like having that on top just because I think it makes it easier since I'm only dealing with one number down here. You can do it however you want. If you want to keep the 8 on top, that's fine. It is completely up to you. This is just how I prefer to do it because with multiplication, the order does not matter. Okay, so if you'd like to pause the video and give this a shot on your own, feel free. I'll give you a moment to do that. So pause if you'd like. If you would like to do this together, feel free to keep the video going and do that. If you're going to pause, and then you can check with us in just a moment when you unpause. So make your decision. If you're going to go on with me, here we go. We do 8 times 2 is 16, so I got my 6, carry that 1, okay? And then I do my 8 times 4, which is 40, plus 1, which is 1, so I carry my 4. And then we got 8 times 0, which is 0, plus 4, which is 4. Okay, now I don't need to do another row here because all it was 8. That's why I like having it written this way. So now we just need to figure out how many numbers are behind our decimal. Well, up here in this factor, we have 5 and 2. So those are 2 numbers behind the decimal. 8 is not behind the decimal. It's in front of the decimal. I know you can't see the decimal, but remember when we talked about last video, the whole numbers always have a decimal behind it. So we just have 2 numbers behind the decimal, so we go 1, 2 again, and we end up with 4.16 or 4.16. There we go. All right.